This is the Tyler Morgan Show on Relentless Dairy Media Network.
Welcome to the land of bourbon and bad decisions, where the nights are long and the truth cuts deep. Voices rise against the tide with clear intentions in a place where freedom never sleeps. Echoes of the past in the halls of tomorrow. The light will chase away the whispers of sorrow. Stand tall, never bow, the fight's just beginning. With every word, the fire keeps on spinning. After all, you got a message for the nation. Raising up the flag with no hesitation. Through the storm, the fire burns bright. On the edge of reason, we defend our rights. Whoa.
Welcome back to Land of Bourbon and Bad Decisions. This is the Tyler Morgan Show live on twitch.tv/Tyler Morgan Show. Maybe check this out on YouTube, youtube.com/@the Tyler Morgan Show. Why the at or the, I don't know. But hey, YouTube sandbox, I play by their rules. Be sure to like the video, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, all that fun stuff, and as always, available on all of the podcast platforms: Apple, Spotify, iHeart, Pandora. I think Pandora still exists. I don't know. Maybe. Pretty much anything that Amazon has their little fingers in. Amazon Music, Audible, all that. You check it out there. Be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and share with all your friends and maybe even your frenemies. Either or, I can handle it all. But before I get into all the gory mess that is this week's news and events, let me talk to you about... I don't have my banners area pulled up. Coffee, yes, coffee. My favorite beverage, and I know you see me sipping on my, scotch here. Scotch. I love scotch. I'm a huge fan of coffee. I drink it pretty much all day, every day. Normally, it's the swill I get at work, but at home, it is coffee from American Pride Roasters. American Pride Roasters is a small business out of Runnels, Iowa, that is roasted and ground to order and shipped to you. You want whole beans? They will send you whole beans that you can grind at home. You want your coffee pre-ground because you're like me and you don't want to take the time to grind it. Hey, if you have an espresso machine, you can get fine grind. If you're, more like me, you want to let it sit and steep for a little bit in a French press, you can get coarse grind, get medium grind for your coffee maker, for your regular drip coffee maker, whatever. You have a choice of grinds that you can get, and so many great flavors. I'm a coffee flavored coffee kind of guy. I like my I've had the Theodore Roosevelt. I've had the George Washington. So many great ones. I can't even remember them all off the top of my head. And if you like the flavored coffees, there's a selection of those too. The Ron Sexual Chocolate, the Hamilton Burr. It's kind of a blueberry donut flavor. So if you're into that for the dessert coffees, check out all they have to offer, the coffee drops, all that. Check them out today, American Pride Roasters, aprcoffee.com. Historically great coffee. All right, so getting into all the... I almost violated my PG-13 rule there. All right, so call this episode Wrestling with Bears. Well, there's a couple bears that we are currently wrestling with. One of them being the big Russian bear, because good old Vladimir Putin had a meeting with Donald Trump in Alaska yesterday, and everything leading up to it from the left was absolute nonsense and garbage. Donald Trump is going to negotiate to give mineral rights in Alaska to Russia. That was never on the table, jack wagons. Some of the others, though, were just as bad. That was like the biggest one that stood out to me, that, all of this is going just, well, if we can't drill for oil, we can let Russia do it. If we can't mine for gold or other, minerals and stuff like that in Alaska, we can let the Russians do it. No, no, that was never a thing. But they had their meeting and everyone's losing their minds because, oh my God, Donald Trump shook his hand. A reporter asked about civilian deaths in Ukraine, and Putin just kind of shrugged, pointed at his ear like, I don't understand. Which, when Putin gave his final address after the meetings, he did give it in English. So yeah, anyone who's saying that he was you know didn't understand, I mean, come on. I guarantee you Putin understands 99% of what's being said. And you have the left like, oh my God, can you believe Donald Trump would do this? The Democrats would never do this. Like, really? Like when Hillary Clinton went to Russia with her reset button to reset America Russian relations, and then it was mistranslated to say overcharge. But I mean, maybe the $500 million that Bill Clinton got to speak to the bank that financed the Uranium One sale, to a Russian company. Maybe that was the overcharge that she was speaking of. And maybe the button wasn't a mistranslation. Maybe it was a kind of tongue in cheek. Aha, I overcharged you. Bill overcharged you for him to come and speak at your thing. I don't know. Just little things that run through my head like that. But then afterwards, Donald Trump admitted, yeah, we don't have a deal, but progress was made. Okay, that's good. That's what diplomacy is about, right? You get world leaders who may be on total opposite ends of an issue, and then you slowly just start working out terms, bringing one side more to the middle. And then Monday, Trump is meeting with Zelensky again, and hopefully it goes better than last time. Hopefully they can start getting Ukraine to come forward with some concessions to bring peace to their country. Now, ultimately, this is going to be a long, drawn out process. And I know a lot of people are very pissed off that Trump, you have Lincoln Project. No deal was made. Jake Tapper, no, you didn't make a deal. It's a failure. I think they seem to forget that peace talks take time. This isn't like the end of World War II after we dropped 2 bombs on Japan and we introduced them to the sun, where it was one country walking in and demanding a full and total surrender to end the war. Now, if Ukraine had pushed the Russian soldiers out of Crimea and out of the additional territory that they took when they invaded during the last president's administration and marched all the way to Moscow and just went full on Sherman march to the sea all the way to Moscow, and we're demanding a complete and unconditional surrender of Russia. And in exchange, they will leave. Yeah. Yeah. That would, then you get one side getting to determine the outcome. Or if it was Russia pushing all the way through Kiev, all the way, all the way across to the Polish border, all the way across to Romania, and then demanding a complete and unconditional surrender by Zelensky, yeah, they would have the room to do that. But that's not the case. There is a standstill with hundreds of thousands dead, if not millions dead, of Ukrainians and Russian soldiers alike. It's a stalemate. This is one of those times where it does take diplomacy to meet with one side, meet with the other side. You know, the statecraft that everyone says Donald Trump seems to lack, the same lack of statecraft that's led to peace negotiations and a peace agreement between India and Pakistan when it was starting to get a little nukey looking over there. Armenia and was it Azerbaijan, getting them to come to the table and sign peace. Find I have only like 3 sips into this scotch, and it's already messing with my brain. Uh, Getting Armenia and Azerbaijan to come to the table, and they have a peace agreement. Is it Cambodia and Thailand? Donald Trump has gotten them to come together, whether it's through the work of Marco Rubio in the State Department and other diplomats there, or Trump himself, if he's been having meetings with their leaders, whether in person, phone calls, emails, however, getting them to come to terms to agree to peace and to agree to a ceasefire of their hostilities. That this Where's anyone talking about that level of statecraft from Donald Trump? You're not seeing it on the left because they don't care. All they want to do is find reasons to bitch and piss and moan and just carry on about how bad Donald Trump is. You know, they're even accusing Donald Trump of, well, Donald Trump, he gave a red carpet rollout. Well, this isn't Bob the janitor being sent by Putin to meet with President Trump and discuss potential, peace negotiations for the Russia-Ukraine war. It was the president of a sovereign nation. I mean, even if you don't like the guy, you still, offer some token respect, if not for him personally, for his role. Like you say in the military, I might not respect that person, but I respect their rank. I respect their title. I respect their position. If nothing else, I've had a few leaders like that where on a personal level, I thought they're about as low as a snake's stomach, but they were my squad leader, platoon sergeant, XO, first sergeant, commander. And so I showed them the respect they were due based on those positions. Same thing with Putin. You might not like him. You don't have to like him. But at least acknowledge he is the duly elected president, even if it's somewhat dubious, of a sovereign nation. But the greatest flex, though, was seeing the F-35s and the B-2 Spirit right over the top of Putin. I mean, that had me singing the theme song to Team America. It was great to see that. That look, yeah, you're all powerful and Russia and everything, but look what we have. You know what we did with a few of these planes just a couple months ago. And then and then seeing people like the is it Ed Krasenstein. If you're not on Twitter, I don't recommend going there. To quote Monty Python and the Holy Grail, it is a silly place. But on Twitter, Krasenstein dork, him and his twin brother are just insufferable. But you know, Ed was very much talking about like, remember when we assassinated Osama bin Laden? It's like, I don't think we could call it an assassination because he was acting as a combatant. It was a kill capture mission. And as much as, you know, they we applaud SEAL Team 6 for doming him, if we could have captured him to actually bring him to the States and he see justice besides a 5.56 to the headpiece, that would have been way better in my opinion. But instead, he decided that he was going to hide behind his wife like the cowardly little biatch that he was use her as a human shield, and then point an AK-47 at the guys coming to kill or capture him. It was not an assassination. He turned it into a hostile threat situation, and they acted. Now, and I've been comparing the reactions on Twitter of the death of Osama bin Laden versus Qasem Soleimani. Qasem Soleimani, those you just a little refresher course here. He was an Iranian general who was very, very instrumental in getting funding to insurgents, equipment to insurgents, and helping coordinate insurgent attacks against U.S. service members in Iraq. And then when we had intel that was actionable that he was in Baghdad, we conducted an airstrike and we took him out. You could make the argument that that was an assassination, but he was a known funder of enemy combatants. He was considered an enemy combatant because of his role. And when he entered back into Iraq, he was a legitimate military target. But this whole idea of that they could have assassinated Putin on American soil, and it would have been oh so great. They forget that Russia still has a crap ton of nukes, more nukes than what we have, and that they could have used that as a predicate to launch nukes at us, or that would be considered an act of war, and then suddenly we have Russian bombers trying to penetrate our airspace and attack us. Don't get me wrong. Putin's not a good dude. I've never thought he was a great dude. I wasn't like George W. Bush, who looked into old Pooty Poo's eyes and, you know, the eyes are the window of the soul, and he's the soul of a gentleman. I didn't. That's not me with Vladimir Putin. But at the same time, you got to work with what you got, and that's who we got right now to work with. So that has been an absolute mess. And hopefully, with the negotiations that Trump is currently working, and then with his meeting with Zelensky on Monday at the White House, we start getting to see peace in Ukraine. Is it possible that Trump could convince Zelensky that you just need to let those parts of the country go? It sucks. It sucks that you're going to lose territory. But what's more important? Keeping people alive. Civilians who are being targeted with airstrikes and rocket and missile attacks. Keeping your countrymen from being killed indiscriminately. Oh, sorry, knocked something over there. Keeping your countrymen from being killed indiscriminately, or just ceding that land. Sure, there will be Ukrainians who now find themselves under Russian rule. But is it better that they be alive or dead? You have to keep dragging people off the streets and sending them into the meat grinder. Now, I'm not a fan of drafts. I'm not a fan of involuntary conscription. And I remember one video of the Ukrainian dude being, essentially thrown into a van by a press gang and sent off to fight and possibly be killed for a war that he doesn't care enough about to enlist to fight in. And that says something. That's beyond what the American draft ever was. We've got a long history of using lotteries. And you register, and if you get drawn, you go, you show up, they do a physical, and if you pass the physical, congratulations, you're off to boot camp and then on to war. What was going on in Ukraine wasn't even that. What's going on with Russia to be able to get bodies to send to Ukraine to fight is not even that. It's literally, you hold the gun, yeah? Good, get in car, you go to front. Give them a uniform, slap an AK-47 or 74 AKM, whatever model of Kalashnikov they're working with these days, in their hands, and send them to the meat grinder. If you survive, you survive. If he dies, he dies. But it's utter insanity. And even if Trump is never recognized for his efforts to end all of these conflicts around the world, via Nobel Peace Prize or anything else like that, I think it's one of those things that will eventually stand the test of time, regardless of the political leanings of any historian who writes about it. because you can say how bad somebody was, how much you didn't like them. But when they do good, you kind of have to scratch your, scratch your head and yeah, I guess he did that. And but at the end of the day, you know, through the length of this term of Donald Trump as president, it's not going to matter. It's not. Maybe over the next 4, 8, 12 years, it won't matter. Because if you look at all the personal failings of Lyndon Johnson, you know, people on the left, they'll acknowledge, oh, yeah, he was a racist son of a bitch, but by golly, look what he did. And he signed the Civil Rights Act that the Republican controlled House and Senate essentially forced his hand on. You know, the same Civil Rights Act that as a senator, he worked to obstruct and keep from getting passed. The guy who asked his black chauffeur, what do you prefer to be called? Your name, chief, boy? Then when the driver said, I prefer to be called by my name, sir, he said, well, that don't matter. You'll always just be insert racist garbage here. Like I said, they love to, you know, prop up all the stuff they think he did good on. I'm not going to say anything about Great Society because that ended up being a complete waste of money. And in the long run, it's really hurt the country. But the good things he did do, like I said, Civil Rights Act. I believe the Civil Rights Act was a good thing. I mean, we have to be able to balance out the good and the bad. It's kind of like our founding fathers. Oh, they're a bunch of racist slave owners and blah 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 blah. Yeah, they were. They were deeply conflicted men. Why is that? Because they're men. Period. They're human. All humans are deeply conflicted on some way, shape, or form. And were they all saints? No. But they also were able to lay out a foundation to create a more perfect union than any other country that had come before it. And ultimately, that is what's important with legacies. I think Donald Trump is going to leave a big one, whether the left wants to admit it or not, especially when it comes to seeking peace between nations, in this second term. It's going to be really, really important to, keep balance between, you know, all the good stuff Donald Trump did in office and as a private citizen and weigh it. I'm not going to say weigh it against, but just his failings and shortcomings, use that kind of, tip the scale. If he ends up just being a complete bad actor who did a few good things, well, that'll be sorted out in the end, some way, shape, or form. But at the end of the day, Joe Biden was never seeking peace between the nations. He would talk about it, but only in the form of Putin bad, this needs to stop. Whereas Trump is saying, he's a jackass, he's a jackass, both of y'all need to stop. Let's come to meet in the middle and we'll find a way to do it. All right. Before I get into my next bear story here, you know what? I don't have a banner for this, but I do have a new venture that I am starting. That venture is called Show Me Hat Co. Show Me Hat Company is something I'm doing where I'm building hats. The last time I was on the live stream, I was wearing the cowboy hat that I built by hand. And I love handcrafted stuff. I really do. My wife has a business where you can build your own stuff and or pick out what you want built, and then either her or I assemble it for you. And when people see what they've envisioned come together, or they see something that you put the time and effort into building, and they go, "Oh my gosh, I absolutely love this." There's an appreciation there versus some thrown together in a factory. You No one really cared about it, knickknack. And don't get me wrong, there are a million great hats and hat companies out there. But I see these videos on YouTube of guys shaping and building hats and the time and care they put into it. I was like, I think I could do something like that. So if you want to check out Show Me Hat Co. and follow along with me as I'm building this, I've got my first order to make a hat for a paying customer. I'm waiting on materials to come in. I can't wait to start working on it and get pictures, do video of it. I do have a YouTube channel, youtube.com// at Show Me Hat Co. If you want to go there and subscribe and wait and see what I eventually put up there, that's great. You want to follow me on Facebook, go to facebook.com, search for Show Me Hat Co. You find pictures of the stuff that I've already done. Check it out and follow along with me as I build something that I think will make for great hats for people who want them down the road. It's something I believe in because I'm a hat guy. I know I don't have a hat on right now if you're watching the live stream or on YouTube, but I've always loved having hats. I've had cowboy hats off and on since I was a kid. You know, Currently my favorite hat that I wear, when I'm not at work is, the fedora I built. So you go to Show Me Hat Co on uh, Facebook and you can see the fedora. It looks amazing and how it came out, I'm more than pleased with. And I want to do stuff like that for other people. Build something that as a customer, I put my heart and soul in. Check it out today. Show Me Hat Co. on YouTube and Facebook. All right. The next bear that we have been dealing with, good old California. If you haven't been following along in the news, Texas is wanting to do a mid-census redistricting. And a lot of people are really upset about that because, oh my God, they're trying to do this, blah, 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 blah. It's like, well, they're not the first state to do a mid-census redistricting. And I could prove this because there's certain states that are their gerrymandering is renowned. Because Illinois lost one congressional seat after the 2020 census because of the number of people who moved out of the state. So they were forced to redistrict. But instead of going, okay, how can we kind of fairly do this? Keeps everything kind of close. They split several Republican seats or Republican held districts to where there would be larger populations of Democrats in those districts, so they would go Democrat. And so, after the 2022 elections with these new districts, yep, Adam Kinzinger, I've talked about him. I don't like him. I'm not a fan of him. But he didn't run for re-election because in his new district, he would not have been competitive. He would have lost no matter how much of a fight, no matter how much money he put into that district. So he's like, I'm out. And he's one of these voices who's attacking Texas. And it's so bad they're they had enough members of the Senate pop smoke, run away, go seek shelter and more favorable climes, if you will, to break quorum, so that way no business could be done. Now, keep in mind, the biggest reason for this special session that they broke quorum on, the biggest reason it was called was because of those horrible, devastating floods in central Texas. They'll have so many dead, so many homes just destroyed. And so they're getting the legislature to come in and vote on spending to get aid to these families, as well as do this whole redistricting thing. And the Democrats are like, oh my God, how dare you use that as a pretext and blah, 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 blah. Like, what are you talking about? You morons do this all the time. You attach something that Republicans would normally vote in favor of. You attach it to bills that it has nothing to do with, that that Republicans aren't going to support, regardless of whatever good things are attached to it. And then you use it to beat them up. They voted against saving puppies. If I voted to save puppies on that bill, I would have also been voting for shooting grandmas in the face. And I don't believe in shooting grandmas in the face in order to save puppies. I'm sorry, I'm not doing that. And it's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, currently there's a restraining order on Beto O'Rourke and his Powered by People PAC because they've admitted to funding and fundraising for these Democrats who fled the state. So he's being investigated for bribery. Did he incentivize the people who left by saying, we'll pay for it. We'll pay for your flights. We'll get you on your private jet. We'll get the private jets to fly you to Illinois, to New York, to wherever. So yeah, he's in some hot water. But to the bear of the story, California, Gavin Newsom has come out swinging, and well, if Texas is going to redistrict, so are we, by golly. So their house is already working in violation of their state law and proposing a new map that would reduce Republican representation in California from, I think, 5 seats down to 3. Or is it 8 down to 3? Yeah, it's 8 down to 3 because they're also expected to gain 5 seats from this redistricting, or 5 Democrat seats from this redistricting. It's insanity. And they act like it's the Republicans who did it first. Like, no, the first time there was a gerrymandering, it was Democrats in Massachusetts in 1812 who didn't want to lose seats in the state Senate to those pesky Whigs. And Governor Eldridge Gerry, he signed it. So that's the reason why if you see the old woodcut image of the big dragon salamander thing arching over another county in order to make a weird district, that's the reason why. That's the reason why it got its name. Like I said, 2021, Governor Fat Ass J.B. Pritzker, he signed the law redistricting Illinois in a way that destroyed a number of Republican seats. New Mexico, they redistricted after the 2020 census, and suddenly, weird, all 3 congressional districts are all solid Democrat districts now. That's odd how that seemed to happen. New York, they redistricted. They didn't like the fact that Republicans actually gained seats. I'd like to apologize on behalf of my retarded dog. They didn't like the fact that Republicans gained seats during that redistricting. So before the 2024 election, they redistricted a second time in order to, get more seats for Democrats in DC. But Texas, bad. And then all of the fawning over Gavin Newsom because of this. Well, I propose a law that every state will have to have an independent council that handles redistricting and blah, 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 blah. I mean, sure, maybe it's a good idea on paper because, frankly, I'm not a fan of gerrymandering. I've been saying this on Twitter for the past 2 weeks. I've said it on TikTok. I believe that the maps should be drawn in a way that if one congressman represents 750,000 people, draw a line, draw a line. 750,000. That's District 1. That's District 2. That's District 3. Across there, that part of the state's District 4. So on and so forth. So you have your districts. You block them out, and it's strictly by population. There's none of this, okay, well, we want to make sure it's evenly represented. So we're going to, take this chunk of this Asian enclave right here in this part of this town. We're going to come over here and get these people, come up here and get these people. None of that. That's how you end up with all these weird shapes. When you look at a bi-county way of how did people vote and go, okay, we want to include this one, go around that one because they voted for the other guy and get this section over here, and we're going to take this half of the county because this half of the county voted the way we want. None of that. just straight up. This block represents this number of people. If it goes Democrat, it goes Democrat. If it goes Republican, it goes Republican. Let the chips fall how they may. But this whole, but the way that Newsom is talking, like he's going to instruct California's independent council. And who appoints the members of the council? Are they selected in a bipartisan manner? That way we know you're not getting, all Democrats who are going to favor redistricting towards Democrats, getting all Republicans who are going to, make the redistricting favor Republicans. Because Missouri has an independent council for the Supreme Court. If there's a vacancy in the Supreme Court, because the voters, this is what's cool about Missouri, you vote on if you're going to retain a Supreme Court justice in the state of Missouri. So if say there was a big scandal with one of them, enough people in Missouri got mad that the next time that they come up for a retainer vote, they say, nope, want them gone. Well, then you have members of the bar, other judges who all get together and they decide, okay, we're going to send this person up to fill that vacancy. Well, here's the crazy thing. Nearly all the members of the council of that independent body in Missouri lean Democrat. That's the reason why you have a red state like Missouri with the Supreme Court that rules on things like, we find cash bail for nonviolent crimes to be unconstitutional. So if you commit a nonviolent crime, you don't have to be held on bail. You keep you in jail to your arraignment. Once you're arraigned, you're released on your own recognizance. Oddly enough, the number of people who are getting arrested for missed court dates has skyrocketed in the last several years since that ruling. Really weird. When if someone can't make bond, they stay in jail. Or if they do make bond, they usually owe, a substantial chunk of money to a bail bondsman. And so there's a financial incentive to make all of your court dates, because even if you're convicted, you'll at least get your 10% down back to you. You don't have a bail bondsman who's now out, the full amount of your bail and is now looking for you because now you owe him, a substantial chunk of money. But the people who are just getting in behind Gavin Newsom and all of his stuff, it's, maybe it's just Gavin Newsom posturing for 2028. Maybe he's fancying a run, which that's going to be fun. That's going to be fun when he's all, you should vote for me because I care about the people. And then Republicans just turn around and go, wait, while your state was locked down and people couldn't go out and do jack crap, weren't you having a really big fancy meal at the French Laundry, a really super expensive high-end restaurant? Hey, Gavin, while other states were allowing people to live their lives during COVID, remember in your state when you had Democrat city leaders who were dumping sand in skate parks because, oh my God, we can't have people skating during COVID. How dare they ride their skateboards in this awesome skate park? So we'll just fill everything with sand and we'll block all the ramps so people can't use it. The paddle boarder, the dude who's out paddleboarding all by himself and gets chased back onto shore and is promptly arrested for violating lockdown. When California cops said they were going to bust the guy for sitting on the beach, it turns out it was a literal straw man. They got there and it was a mannequin. I mean, I said the cynical part of me says that he really doesn't care about redistricting and getting 5 more seats for Congress in California, or 5 more Democrat seats for Republic, or for, oh my God, 5 more seats in Congress for the Democrats, and that he's just posturing because he's fancying a run. Jasmine Crockett doing the same thing. She's fancying a run. Again, my retarded dog being retarded. He knows I'm doing a live stream and recording a podcast, and he insists on staying outside the door and barking. But all this is just absolute ridiculousness. Democrats are mad that Republicans are taking a page out of their playbook. And they're getting all booty hurt over it. Because instead of looking in a mirror and going, oh crap, we've been doing the same damn thing, they're just pointing fingers and yelling and not even realizing that, maybe they do realize it. They're just not being honest enough with the people and with themselves to go, yeah, they've got a point. We kind of set them up to be able to do it. It's utter ridiculousness. And I'm sure it'll go through, even though it's supposed to be a ballot measure, or even if it's not a ballot measure, if it's going through the House. Again, there could be an argument. I would love to see it go through the House and see Republicans in California take it to the Supreme Court there and go, they violated their law. They violated the law. And this redistricting is completely unconstitutional. I would love to see that. Absolutely love to see it. Something else I would love to see is with in this attempt to redistrict, if it ended up backfiring, just it's like, oh, Republicans ended up gaining 4 seats off of this because enough, normal thinking Democrats have gone, look at what they have been doing and just screwing us left, right, and sideways from our own party. And we're sick of it. Would love to see that. I know a man can dream. The cynical side of me says, yeah, that's not going to happen. But there's a part of me that still has this little spark of optimism that's hoping, just hopes that it just bites him in the ass so hard. All right, so that's going to wrap up the show for tonight. Those of you who joined me on the live stream, thank you so much. Means a lot. You take the time to hang out with me at 10 o'clock at night on Saturday, 11 o'clock on Saturday if you're for the weirdos on the East Coast. Spend your time with me. It means a lot. I'm kind of a crab ass, and a lot of people don't like to spend time with me, but you do. You will forever be my friends. Those of you who are hanging out with me via podcast, thanks for catching up and hanging out and hearing what I have to say. It means a lot. If you're new to the podcast, again, as I said at the start of the show, 4 things I ask every week. Number 1, please subscribe. Once you have subscribed, please rate the show and look for 5 stars, all except for 3 and below. We need to have a chat. Hit me up on Twitter at Fake Tyler Morgan and DM me. They're open. We can discuss why you feel that you need to give me a 3 or less. And if you're cool about it, I will be cool with you. If you come in swinging, acting like a fool, then yeah, I will be a fool right back. I'm very good at it. Once you have rated the show, please write a review, say something nice about it, kind of, fluff it a little bit. Don't get carried away. Don't get carried away. Don't write the great American novel about how great my show is, because I know that I'm not that great. I know you are, because you are listening to me. That makes you awesome. Once you have subscribed, rated, and reviewed, please be sure to share this episode with someone who you think will enjoy it. Send it to someone you think this will drive them absolutely batcrap crazy. Either way, I'm good with it. Again, on YouTube, be sure to subscribe, hit the bell for notifications whenever I post new stuff. And again, please be sure to check out Show Me Hat Co. on Facebook and on YouTube. Follow along as I start building this whole hat thing. Big shout out to my girl in Alabama, who she is waiting with bated breath for me to get the stuff for her fedora in. And I cannot wait to have pictures of that put up so you can see what kind of quality you're going to get with Show Me Hat Co. Again, thank you so much for listening. And as always, I forget to put up the right button to hit the right things. There, that hits me. Oh yeah, I'm not allowed to hit the outro video, the intro video anymore, because StreamYard says I can only do that with paid accounts. They're too expensive for me to afford. Please subscribe. Help get some monetization going here and really be really helpful. Maybe use that at RDMP84 in the show notes to send me some money on Venmo that can go towards making the show better. Either way, even if I'm doing it free, I don't have all the cool toys anymore. Still means a lot that you're hanging out with me again. Thanks for listening. And as always, stay relentless. The Tyler Morgan Show is a Relentless Daring media production. The Tyler Morgan Show is supported by its listeners. To support the show, go to ko-fi.com/Tyler Morgan Show to donate there, or relentlessdaring.com and hit the donate button at the top of the page to set up your donation. All music used in the Tyler Morgan Show is used with permission from purpleplanet.com, link in the show notes. 2 Timothy 1:7.